started when you're ready.
All right, I'm ready. I just went through all of the pictures of people on the screen, and it's so nice to see everybody. So nice to see so many familiar faces and friends. Welcome, greetings and welcome to our kickoff event to support and promote the Connecticut Reentry Collaborative's 2021 legislative priorities. My name is Beth Hines, and I'm the Executive Director for Community Partners in Action, and I get to be your host tonight. Today is a great day for reentry. Congratulations to Mayor Elliker and the City of New Haven and Project More for your official opening of the New Haven Reentry Welcome Center. We're thrilled for you and the people coming home to New Haven. Community Partners in Action, in partnership with Mayor Bronin and his team, opened the Hartford Reentry Welcome Center back in September of 2018, and to date have assisted more than 700 people returning home from prison. We know firsthand all the effort and countless hours it takes to open a Reentry Welcome Center, and are so inspired by the work in New Haven and commitment of the team that brought your center to fruition. Now it's time to expand the Reentry Welcome Center model statewide. I feel so fortunate tonight. Not only do I get to work at CPA, but I get to co-chair the Greater Waterbury Reentry Roundtable, which is a member of the Connecticut Reentry Collaborative. The collaborative is made up of service providers, advocates, and people with lived experience from the 10 reentry roundtables across the state. Over the past several months, we worked together to consolidate and coordinate the efforts of various organizations and stakeholders working on behalf of people who were formerly incarcerated to maximize our impact and achieve legislative improvements for the reentry community statewide. After months of such conversations, we put together a list of legislative priorities for which we are advocating in the 2021 season and onward. The priorities have corresponding legislation already in the pipeline and are being championed by organizations such as the ACLU, CATAL, Connecticut Coalition to End Homelessness, and Connect. Our collaborative hopes to contribute to their efforts by mobilizing our reentry networks to advocate for the legislation that affects the people we serve. Before we jump into the first of our 4 forums, I would like to give a brief overview of the priorities we chose to focus on this session. The first centers around employment and clean slate, which would be an automatic erasure of criminal records for certain convictions after a period of time. We are also supporting anti-discrimination in employment and seek to expand public sector protections for people with a criminal record and modify the existing hiring process for potential employees. Our second priority involves housing. We are promoting anti-discrimination in housing in that there should no longer be blanket denials based on criminal records. We are advocating that no questions about criminal convictions be present on any housing applications. We also support the Reentry Housing Assistance Program, which is a collaboration between the Connecticut Department of Correction and Connecticut Coalition to End Homelessness. The collaborative seeks to ensure the Reentry Housing Assistance Program does not disappear once the money is spent, but rather codified into law. We feel strongly that if we are able to find resources to safely house people during a national pandemic, that we should be able to continue these efforts once the pandemic is behind us. And last but not least, we are supporting the restoration of voting rights. There are 2 pieces of voting rights legislation. One that would restore voting rights for all incarcerated people, except those who have been sentenced to life without parole, and one that will restore voting rights to all individuals immediately upon release. The collaborative supports both. All right, so now it's time for our guest speakers. And to lead tonight's kickoff event, we are fortunate to have New Haven's Mayor Justin Elliker join us. Mayor Elliker is the 51st elected mayor of the City of New Haven and is working with his team in City Hall to ensure every New Haven resident has the opportunity to thrive no matter where they live in the city. The mayor and his team have been working to implement vital changes to support New Haven's most vulnerable. In partnership with local nonprofit organizations, New Haven has permanently housed over 300 individuals experiencing homelessness over the past year. As I mentioned earlier, the New Haven Reentry Welcome Center officially opened and will serve as a one-stop reentry center with wraparound services to help people coming home to New Haven successfully transition. Mayor Elliker, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Beth. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here today. And as I was saying earlier, it's pretty awesome, the timing of this, because our team, in particular, Carlos Sosa Lombardo, who's on the call as well here, have worked very closely with Project More to get the reentry one-stop welcoming center ready. And today was our launch. Maybe it's actually good because we had snow last week, so it was supposed to launch last week, but the timing worked perfectly for today. And we had a group of individuals out celebrating that underscored just how much I think this issue is very important to New Haven residents, but also how much it reflects our values. And I just wanted to make sure that that people understand the framing here. I think there's a lot of people that probably have thought a lot about this issue. But when you think about the scale of this challenge that we're facing, it's very significant. Over 900 individuals return every year to New Haven. And so when you think about that number, it's astonishing. Over 10 years, that's around 7% of New Haven's population that are returning citizens. And people that are returning have all kinds of barriers that are put up in front of them. So it's no wonder that the recidivism rate in the state and in New Haven is so high. Well over half of the individuals that return are likely to go back to prison within the first 3 years of them returning. And that's not good for crime in our city, for public safety, but much more importantly, it is not humane, and it doesn't reflect the values of our city. We should be a society that allows people to have a second chance, that underscores that people, in my view, in many ways through no fault of their own, because of the history of not having adequate resources and support, have ended up in a life where they may have made some mistakes. We shouldn't be a society that doesn't provide them then the resources to be successful when they come out of prison. And what in fact happens is just the opposite, that we make it difficult for people to succeed. The Reentry Welcoming Center that we opened just today is one significant step in ensuring that people have the more likelihood for success. And in particular, our Reentry Center will not only provide a one-stop location for everyone that is coming out of the Department of Corrections, where previously they would be dropped off in multiple different locations in New Haven, but provides peer support and caseworkers, and connects them with partners that we are closely working with for housing, for potential employment, for mental health support, and other kinds of supports. And this is just one step, but the work that you are all doing and that we are very much supportive of, and some of all of New Haven's delegation has been also very proactive about making sure that we remove many of those barriers at the state level. And these statewide initiatives, I think, will help us become even more successful. The one area that we are particularly interested in is an act concerning community crisis response and reentry centers. And that's because we need resources to support the work that we're doing. And our reentry center is very much in need of more resources so that we can provide more case support. You think of the number of people coming back to New Haven, that needs a lot more support than we're currently able to give. And the second area of this community crisis response team is closely integrated with that. We're working to develop and are close to initiating a pilot of this community crisis response team, where there's a lot of incidents that happen in New Haven where people currently call 911 and a police officer responds, when oftentimes it may be more appropriate for someone with mental health expertise, social worker, can respond to de-escalate. And the very nature of an officer with a gun responding may escalate that situation. because there are many people that that are coming out of prison, returning citizens that are managing many other challenges. It's not always the most appropriate thing for a police officer to respond to potential incidents. And so this legislation that supports the growth of reentry centers around a lot of our major municipalities where we see many of the returning citizens coming back to, and the crisis response team is something that we're very, very interested in supporting and seeing be successful, along with the other initiatives that that you're working on. So I'm looking forward to the conversation with the panel and very excited to be here. Thanks again.
Thank you, Mayor. We really appreciate you taking the time out of your schedule to be with us tonight. Our next guest is Joseph Gainham, currently serving in his 7th term as mayor of the city of Bridgeport. As a returning citizen himself, one of Mayor Gainham's top priorities after being reelected to office in 2015 was establishing a municipal reentry office dedicated to helping the more than 1,000 residents returning to Bridgeport from prison each year receive a second chance. This department, called the Mayor's Office for Reentry Affairs, commonly referred to as MIRA, helps people coming home by addressing their most basic needs, such as housing, transportation, and employment, and provides information on financial literacy and state pardons. MIRA was recently awarded the 2020 DollarWise grant from the U.S. Conference of Mayors to expand the program's outreach to people months before they are released from prison. Mayor Gainham is an advocate for state and federal criminal justice reform, especially clean slate legislation, which we all hope is passed in Connecticut this session. Mayor Gainham, welcome.
Well, thank you and everyone. And I apologize, my computer went out, so I'm talking to you through the phone. I hope you can see and hear me.
We can see you.
Okay. And just let me start by applauding and thanking the Reentry Collaborative for moving this very important topic in this legislative session front and center and making it a priority for all of our legislators. I talked to one of the chairmen, the House chairman of the Judiciary Committee today, who's from Bridgeport, Steve, and I know that they are working to ensure that this is one of the top bills that comes out of that committee and moves forward along the lines it's been advocated for, to create the opportunity, or I should say to reduce the barriers so that individuals can have the opportunity for reentry into a welcome community, a welcome society, and a welcoming state. Our city has, as you said, Justin mentioned 900, 1,000. Those are the type of numbers of individuals that come out every year into our major cities. It could be Bridgeport, Hartford, New Haven, Waterbury, and are looking for just a place to land without having to trip over the obstacles of having to deal with the residual impact of having a felony conviction. If you assume, and I like to assume, that people come out after they've paid their debt to society and want somewhat of a fresh start and get reunited maybe with family, reestablished in their community, that there are tangible and sometimes immovable objects that make it difficult and impossible, and I think contribute greatly to the rate of recidivism that we have in Connecticut and nationally. You touched on my story, 7 terms, but they were divided by a substantially long period away in a federal prison camp. And that was the most difficult period, as you might imagine, for me and for my family to endure. But as we all do, we accept the consequences, as I did. And once getting that behind me, I can give you the experience of how difficult, even someone who comes from a very large family, not without means, well known, I met obstacles coming back myself. They weren't anywhere near some of the challenges that other individuals have, whether it's difficulty in getting established with housing discrimination or substance abuse. But they're there nonetheless. I was denied the ability to go back into my chosen profession as a lawyer. The committee feeling that maybe I wasn't the right person or that I'd lost my moral compass forever. And I hope that Maybe I've overcome that and will at some point. But the point is that the challenges are there, and they're a stigma that we have to eliminate if we expect individuals who come out from the prison system and a punitive system, but it's also supposed to be a system of rehabilitation. And having been through it, there's very little that I think supports the concept of rehabilitation within the system itself, despite the best efforts of advocates and organizations. But there needs to be, and there can be, a better effort on reentry. We've started the MIRA program. We've received actually a number of awards and grants for it. And I want to congratulate New Haven, the mayor of New Haven, Justin, and Hartford for the reentry centers. I think those are huge steps after a long, hard work, leadership by the mayor and his team, deserves not just applause because they've accomplished something, but they've accomplished something meaningful that's going to make an impact in hundreds of thousands of people's lives to help them reestablish themselves and themselves with their families and in their communities. So what's proposed, and the advocacy for clean slate legislation for individuals is critical, and the time is now to reduce these barriers with forums like this, and legislators will stand up and say, no, I want to create a level playing field for reentry, and I'm going to do something about it by voting for this. Goes a long way. I just want to say that we need to do more in Bridgeport, and I think across Connecticut and across this country, on understanding the challenges and putting the tools in place so people can have the opportunities. If they don't take advantage of them, they want to become one who becomes a statistic for recidivism and maybe ignore what could be one path on the road versus another. We can't help that. But we can help creating that other path in the road that's a much more desirable one for individuals and for us collectively as a state. So I'm not afraid to raise my voice to tell my story. If I had more time, I would give you more details. As painful as it is to talk about, I sit here in here deliberately today in this office, which a few people have been able to make the jump from sitting where I was for years to being able to have been given the honor of getting the trust again to hold this position. But that goes to one of the items that I think is important on the list, the restoration of voting rights. And people need to be giving the opportunity to express themselves, their choices through voting rights. And with this clean slate legislation, we can do that as well. So I applaud the efforts. I'm glad and want to make sure that we do everything in Bridgeport to push this forward. We're talking about ways that we can enhance the opportunity for people to get with clean slate, but also pardons as something that's in place now to help people get past the stigma of having to put down where they do with the boxes and band, that neon light that causes an employer to pause. So one thing that I'd like to focus on as we go forward is ways in which we can ensure employers that they will be backstopped. We've done it in Bridgeport with the Step Up program. They'll be backstopped by if it's taking a chance or a risk or creating an opportunity for an individual to be given a job. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Mayor Gainham. Truly appreciate your words. They resonate with all of us. And also Earl Bloodworth is amazing, and he is part of your MIRA program. So thank you for letting him be part of the collaborative. He's amazing.
Thank you.
So now it's time for our panel presentation. Joining us tonight are several distinguished guests, including Daryl McGraw, who is a lot of things, but he is the Senior Reentry Analyst from the Institute of Municipal and Regional Planning at Central Connecticut State University. We also have Julia Wilcox joining us tonight, and she is the Manager of Advocacy and Public Policy for the Connecticut Community Nonprofit Alliance. We have Gus Marks Hamilton, who is a Smart Justice Field Organizer for the ACLU. Tahiba Bain, Executive Director of Women Against Incarceration, and Alicia Gay, Community Organizer for Catal. All right, so Tahiba, I'm going to start with you tonight with the first question. I'm going to give Molly an opportunity to get Tahiba on the screen. There she is. How are you, friend?
Hi, how are you? I'm well. Thank you for having me.
We have the same color on.
Ah, someone told me it was my color. I was like, okay.
So Tahiba, thank you for joining us tonight. We appreciate your time. So our question tonight is, according to the Council on Collateral Consequences of a Criminal Record, Connecticut imposes more than 500 legal and policy barriers on individuals with criminal records. Can you talk about some of the barriers you experienced firsthand and how they affected your ability to successfully transition to your community?
Okay, well, thank you for having me, Beth, and the Reentry Collaborative. I really appreciate this opportunity. The organization in which I'm a executive director of is Women Against Mass Incarceration. And it's vital that we say the mass incarceration because incarceration was created for people of color. It wasn't created for everyone. It was created for people of color, but it became such a venue for opportunity and money that, you know, it's overwhelming. So we have to put that mass in there. So the Council of Collateral Consequences, I actually sat on the task force for that, and that actually came out of a pain in which I actually experienced due to the barriers of these consequences. And so there's many things that I've endured throughout my journey of reentry since 2011, New York as well as in Connecticut. And I'm going to talk about the ones in Connecticut because in Connecticut, I was asked to actually work in a reentry, the arena of reentry. And once they realized that the nature of my crime was of violent nature, they rescinded the offer. They knew I was formerly incarcerated. They just didn't, I guess they wasn't aware that it was a violent nature. And that right there in turn had me go to the ACLU, in which I was working with and a part of, and I still am part of Smart Justice. And I cried to them and I told them, this is unfair. When do you stop paying your dues for a crime committed over 20 years ago, over 15 years ago? And they created the Council of Collateral Consequences with some legislators because of that. Fortunately, I do not take no lightly. And I know that even though you tell me no, there's other opportunities in which I can make for myself and or, you know, partake in. So with that, hence I'm executive director of my own nonprofit organization in Bridgeport, looking to become a leader of reentry and abolition to incarceration in Bridgeport and throughout the state of Connecticut, along with CATAL, ACLU, and Connect. So even though the 500 barriers that's there, and it's over 500, there's ways in which we as formerly incarcerated people can navigate and overcome. First and foremost, we have to take the responsibility of not allowing anyone to put a negative connotation next to our name as saying we're inmate, convict, ex-con, ex-felon, because that has a negative connotation. A returning citizen can be deemed as a positive connotation, but then you have to ask yourself, if I was a returning citizen for real, then why would I have to fight for basic human rights to live? Basic housing, basic employment, basic insurance, you know, and so a returning citizen has those rights, and they do not have to fight for them. They do not have to demand them. They do not have to cry for them. They do not have to beg for them. They're giving them. So when you say that a formerly incarcerated man or woman or a justice impacted man or woman is a returning citizen, you have to really ask yourself, what is citizen and what are they returning to? Because they're not returning to any of those rights. So you talk about the barriers, but people want to talk about the barriers, but they don't really understand. Like, the barriers is not just a give and take and it's a one stop and then you let go. It's a lifelong of barrier. And even though I graduated with my associate's degree, I graduated with my bachelor's degree, I've been inducted into the Hall of Change, the Connecticut Grade 8 Hall of Change, and still I'm looked upon as a formerly incarcerated woman, a woman that created and committed a crime over 20 years ago. They do not see the process and the progress in which I took and actually achieved, but they still see that number, 14679-014, a number I will never forget, and a number that you guys don't forget. Because even though you say we're second chance reentry, you still call us inmates, you still call us ex-cons, you still call us ex-felons, and those are not great names to call a person, because it has a negative connotation. So when you say we're second chances, I believe that we should just take the gamut and just make it a blanket thing. So this is why the legislation is being bombarded with all of these laws to change those barriers, because those barriers keep oppressing and they keep putting people back in prison. It may not be in prison behind a wall, but it's a prison within the rights of living as a basic human being. Thank you.
Say it again.
I don't know what to, okay, I'm like, I don't know, I'm stuck here. Okay.
Tahiba, thanks so much. So much to think about, and language is so important, and I just want to say congratulations on your induction into the grade 8. I haven't seen you since that happened, so way to go.
Thank you.
I couldn't agree.
Right. Language, and thank you, Beth, for reiterating that, because language is definitely important.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Where is my friend Daryl McGraw?
Yeah. What up? Let's go. Let's go. Let's get it.
You ready?
Let's get it. We in the building, right? I see 111 people out here right now. What's good?
You said we were going to.
I see a lot of change agents in the building. I see you, Gammon. I see you talking about change. Let's get it. Earl in the building. Teresa Good. Tahiba, grade 8. Let's go.
Woohoo!
Late night, man. Y'all acting like this is a funeral, man. This is a good thing. We talking reentry right now. What? New Haven got a reentry center? Let's get it. What we doing, Beth? How you doing? Let's go.
It is so nice to see you. You're awesome. All right. So, Daryl, in June, you wrote for the Connecticut Mirror. For people that are incarcerated, success means getting out and finding purpose. The system doesn't set up enough opportunities for individuals to do that. Can you talk about what kinds of opportunities the system could provide women to help with a seamless reentry process that it doesn't currently offer?
Yeah, so, first, that was an interview, so I didn't write it. I would love to take credit for it, but the Mirror, they wrote that. And I appreciate the question. I appreciate the opportunity to be here, be on the call with 110 advocates, many of them superheroes. I know the work that you do in the street every day. You might hear the dog barking in the background trying to get some airtime. So I would just want to say, just understanding how important purpose was for me, right? I had to find purpose. I found purpose in West Wing 25 cell when somebody slipped the Purpose Driven Life book under my cell and said, you need to read this. It was a 40-day spiritual journey. My court date was 41 days away. So I thought God had sent me this book. But then I started to read it. And when I started to read, I started to, write. And then I started to find out that by day 25, I found out purpose was using my lived experience as a tool to guide others out. 116 or 13 people on this call right now understand this is the modern day Underground Railroad. We are guiding people out of darkness into light, not just freeing them physically, but freeing them mentally. And the way that you do that is through lived experience. Let's be clear. You need lived experience at your table leading. You need lived experience greeting people outside the fence. You need lived experience telling parents and family members what it's going to be like. If we do not have that, we just have the same old things that we had before. And we already understand that this system is built on a foundation of systemic racism that stems from slavery. So until we get the people that are knowledgeable, who have been successful, like many of my members, from the grade 8 who have transitioned successfully, but not only transitioned successfully from the bondage of prison and managed to start their own businesses and continue to reach back into communities and guide others. And we can take from even the mayor, Joe Gainham. This is a person that knows what it's like to lose your freedom. Are we asking people who have lost their freedom, who are now successful, like the brother Sean from New Haven, who I see on the call, Anderson, Gus, I see you, Dan, I see all of you superheroes out there who are guiding people to freedom. Are we using the best resource that we have in the state of Connecticut, and that is lived experience? So how do we do that? We keep employing them. We train individuals in forensic peer support. That's the best training you could ever have to engage individuals. So if you ask, the question is, how do we better ourselves with engaging people? We need linkage. We need linkage. We need to link these people with people who have already been through the journey and who are on the other side of the fence saying, come on home. Come on home, we can help you. We are in the business of getting people out, and in Connecticut, we need to be the leader of keeping people out so they stay out, not just getting out, because you're going to get out. 95% of them are getting out, but we want to be the experts in keeping them out. I could go on forever, but you already know, man, I'm just happy to be in the room.
So Daryl, can you tell us a little bit, not everybody knows about the grade 8. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, the grade 8, man, the grade 8 are just 8 people that have been doing this work of many others that many came before us. Kenny Jackson, Daeed McKnight, Fred Hodges, shout out to those that came before us, those that opened the door, kicked the door open and held the door open for us. And now somebody has actually, the brainchild of Charlie Grady, to think of offering an award to recognize 8 people who have taken their struggles and changed them into triumph, who have taken all their things that they've been through, that we've been through, that people look down on us on, and raised us up and put us on pedestals and said to us, man, we acknowledge, the state of Connecticut acknowledges the fact that you have been through this system, and now you are out here helping others. You have changed your lives, and we have been recognized. Eight of us, and there's many more, and I can't wait to be in company with many more. Many of these people on the call deserve that same award. But I say that those individuals, that those of us, that the 8 of us that have been given the award, have been recognized for our work, our tireless work, which was a blessing to do in our communities of changing lives for others and creating pathways and doing everything that we can, from backpacks to toothbrushes to socks to whatever it is, to create change for individuals in our community. And it really boils down to networking and relationships, man. I got a lot of relationships. I got excited when I was on this call and I started skimming through the names and the faces, and it's about relationships. So, you know, we were given an award. Our plaques are hanging in Newgate Prison. Shout out to Morgan and Liz for, you know, holding us down at Newgate Prison. You know, if you haven't been there, go check out the plaques. We're in the building, you know, but that's just the start, man. What we're doing is just holding space, because that's what we do. Real peer support is holding space for others. And we're just holding space, holding the door open for many more advocates and superheroes to come through the door, but most of all, holding space for those brothers and sisters that are in the cell right now that went to bed early, and we're going to hold the space for them to come home and give them a spot out here in the community. So I hope that makes sense. If not, we could tell you, you know, we got video and everything about the grade 8 and how we got here. So
here's the test. Can you name all the grade 8?
Come on, man. Can I name all the grade 8?
Let's go. Let's hear it.
Ooh, Tahiba. We got Tahiba. If I get lost, just help me. But I got Tahiba. I got my brother Iron. Mm-hmm. I got Mike Askew. I got Tahiba Bain. I got Daryl McGraw. That dude is amazing, right? I'm at 5, right? I got, Kelvin Young, right? I got Babs Rawls. Mm-hmm. And then, last but not least, we have
2 more.
2 more?
You have 2 more. You have Larice Harvey.
And Robin. We can't forget Larice Harvey and Robin Cullen. Come on, man. We ain't playing no games. Where's my award? We got a pizza or something for me? Because y'all know I'm hungry, man. What's good?
You're going to have to share that. That helped too.
You definitely
Yeah.
need to share it with Tahiba. Yeah,
Hey.
definitely.
Hey, Beth, man, we appreciate you being here, man, being the host and the moderator, and everybody that's here, man. This is peace, man. This is real good, but this can't be the end. This got to be the beginning. We got Building Bridges coming up real soon, right?
Yep.
We want all of y'all in the building. Building Bridges is coming, man. This is what we're doing. We're going to be advocating for the next change, man. Let's go.
Daryl, what's the date?
I think February 23rd. Mark, check this out. Mark, February 23rd and February 24th. We'll have the save the date out on Friday. The meeting is on Friday. If you want to be in the building part of the planning committee, you got an idea for us, let us know, man. That's where we're going to be at. We got the Zoom link. We can share it with you, too, if you want to be part of that planning process. Building bridges virtually.
Daryl, you're a superhero. You're on mute.
You muted me. Somebody, Molly, what are you guys muting me? Listen, yeah. So 23rd, 24th, that's what we're looking at. And let's keep doing what we do, man. Saving people, saving lives. Thank you for having me. Honor and a privilege to be in a room with so many superheroes, man. I'm in real good company right now.
Thanks, Daryl. See you soon.
Yes, no doubt.
All right, so Julia Wilcox is up next, and she is a huge supporter of the Community Justice Network, and we're thrilled to have her join us tonight. Julia, you around?
Hey, Beth.
How
Good
are
evening,
you?
folks. Yep.
Molly will get you right front and center. So there you go. How are you?
I'm doing great. So you and I first met at 9 this morning for our Public Policy Council. So
Yeah, we've seen each other a few times today. So Julia, you have provided advocacy support to a wide range of nonprofits throughout your career, and we're so grateful. And can you talk a little bit about what makes for effective advocacy and how we should adapt in this digital age?
sure. So first and foremost, thank you all so much. I really am just honored to be a part of this conversation. And when you ask me what makes for effective advocacy, you just need to look no further than our first two presenters. You have two mic drop moments here, and I'm done for the evening. So thank you all so much. What fantastic examples you have right here and throughout the 115 people on this call. I know that much of what I'm saying, I'm likely going to be speaking, preaching to the choir here, but I'd love to kind of have that conversation about probably taking this in two parts. What does make for effective advocacy, and then sort of what this looks like in our digital age. So as was clearly illustrated by our first two presenters, obviously the critical component to advocacy is all about relationships, as Daryl said, absolutely about relationships and the development of those individual relationships. And in most basic terms, advocacy is about building support for your cause, your concerns, your community, among members of the General Assembly or your local government, with these people who are in a position to affect change, actually make these things happen. And the support happens when when you've built a level of trust and respect within those relationships. And so how do you do that? And this group is just outstanding, extraordinary in this way. I look at so many people on this call, and this is what you do so well. It's about consistently providing clear and accurate information that will help these legislators to really understand not only your concerns and goals, but what you need from them, being very specific in terms of your ask, and always have that ask. But your relationship does not start with the ask is a huge component to this. And again, preaching to the choir with this group, but it's about building those relationships so that when you do have a specific ask, you're going back as a known entity, someone that they already trust, so that they are far more willing to engage and to assist you when you need them. And there's also that aspect of following up in a really consistent way, staying connected. So that's everything from your standard and all-important thank you to any legislator with whom you communicate, but also providing those updates to the information that you've provided. And that can be updated statistics, bringing in other partners for them to speak with, and also just having that opportunity to update your information. This group is well versed in the one-pagers, in the advocacy leave-behinds, where you have a written document that you're leaving with them, but never let it end at that. Continue that conversation in any way that you can. And it's as important to engage with those legislative champions, of which there are an awful lot in terms of the community justice and social justice arena, but it's also about engaging with those legislators who may not have initially seemed to support your concerns and or seem like unlikely partners. It's so critical to keep building on those relationships and to share with them some of the partners and the legislators who are your champions, so that they have that sense that this is larger than the conversation that the two of you are having. And this legislative session, there are actually 25 new legislators, which is a pretty extraordinary opportunity. New legislators are uniquely kind of hungry for causes that they can embrace, and they really value your ability to be able to educate them, because again, they are brand new to this process, and it's so important for you to always keep in mind in any of these conversations that you have that, as Daryl and Tabitha both said, you are the expert of your own life experience. There is no one else that can present that story or present those facts for them. And finally, simply never underestimate that value of collaboration. And you need to look no further than the leadership on this call. And for us, for the Nonprofit Alliance, just very briefly, we are the state's largest association dedicated specifically to nonprofits. So our membership runs the gamut from arts and culture to developmental disabilities and housing. So one of the key areas of focus for me is our Community Justice Division, of which Beth Hines is our co-chair. But what that means is that because we represent all aspects of the nonprofit sector, it's so critical for us to take a look at the needs and the priorities of each of our subsectors. So we very carefully look at the priorities of the Reentry Collaborative, the folks from Smart Justice. We are always in tune with the priorities of all groups to make sure that we're able to kind of find common ground when we can. And we are not necessarily, when you're seeking those collaborators, you are not necessarily going to agree on all points, but it's so critical to find those common areas so that you're strengthening your voice. And I realize I'm running on a bit long, I do apologize, but I did want to get just briefly into the kind of the virtual age and what this looks like, this legislative session. And heading into this session, I think there was a universal concern for everyone in terms of how to effectively advocate and whether or not we would even be able to proceed with a legislative session. And I can share with you, obviously the primary concern was that virtual versus in-person contact, sort of that large scale indoor rallies are gone. The really organic in-person meetings with legislators at the LOB Cafe, those are gone. And for the most part, in-person visits with your programs and families are gone. But incredibly, we absolutely have seen that what has taken their place is really an amazing opportunity, which we found to be equally effective, if not more so in some areas. And I'd like to just kind of briefly use a few examples of the Alliance's experience just in the 4 weeks since session began to kind of illustrate that. So within these 4 weeks, many of our members have participated in several public hearings, and universally the feedback has been that the process is improved. And there's this very odd component to it. So the obvious is that the process is more streamlined and efficient. Just the travel alone, for some of you folks who live in the other corners of the state, just the efficiency in terms of travel and being able to include more people in the hearing is huge. But at the same time, we've absolutely found that while you're doing this virtually, no one is in person, there is a very personal aspect to this. When a legislator is on your screen and you're speaking directly to them and they are asking very specific questions, and we found this session they absolutely are, you're engaged in a way that you really aren't when you're 20 feet away at the LOB. And it's a very uniquely kind of digital but personal experience. And I think the first time any of you kind of have experienced that, you understand what I'm saying. Let's see. So much of what I had thought about, really this group is so well equipped to address already. And Beth, I know that you have an Advocacy 101 session coming up, so I won't get into the nuts and bolts of the digital session, but I will say again that we have found it to be just incredibly effective. And just very briefly, during the pandemic, we have found absolutely, and again, preaching to the choir, but the social media aspect of what's happening is just enormous. We have held regional legislative forums with our congressional delegation and with legislators in different areas of the state. And what we have found that even with our congressional delegation, once we have that recorded forum where they have responded to 200 nonprofits on the line, they are very interested in carrying that water, carrying that message, and reposting everything, reposting the videos, and the way it builds on itself is really pretty extraordinary. So for all the concerns that we had going into session, I think that for the few areas that we lose, we have gained so much. And I think I'll sort of leave it there. Again, I know I'm preaching to the choir, but so appreciate every single person on this call and the mayors as well. Just so appreciate all you do and look forward to absolutely working together and building those collaborations. So thank you.
Thank you, Julia. And we're so appreciative of all the work that you do. On behalf of the nonprofits that are members of the Alliance, we're so appreciative of all the work you do to support our efforts. It's not easy, and I know we bother you often with our needs, but you always are there for us, and we're grateful.
Excuse me, I have a question. May I ask a question real quick? How can someone get a part of the Connecticut Community Nonprofit Alliance? How can we become a member of that alliance?
What a wonderful question. Feel free to reach out to me or to visit our website. We actually have just launched a brand new website. And we also, by the way, on our website do have information for that is open to the public. Everything from advocacy tips to how to start a nonprofit. But we are a membership association, so there are fees that are based on a scale as far as your budget or individuals, but feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to have that conversation always, and thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Julia.
Thank you.
Alicia, are you there?
I am.
How are you?
Well, how are you?
I saw you today too on a call. Nice to see you again.
Good to see you as well.
So Alicia, can you please speak to CATAL's ongoing campaigns and efforts related to your reentry priorities here in Connecticut?
Yeah, absolutely. So hi, everyone. My name is Alicia Gay, and I'm the community organizer with the CATAL Center for Equity, Health, and Justice. And just a little bit before I get into the two campaigns that CATAL has been working on, I just wanted to give what our goals are, and CATAL's goals are to end mass incarceration and mass criminalization in the war on drugs, and we're also looking to build power and leadership in the community through community organizing. And so right now there are 9,100 incarcerated people in Connecticut prisons and jails, and 3,735 of those people have tested positive for COVID-19, and 19 of those folks have passed away. So at the onset of COVID, of the pandemic, CATAL members called on Governor Lamont to exercise his executive power to create a comprehensive COVID-19 plan for the release of incarcerated people due to the virus before the numbers got so high and the death toll rose as far as it has. And so we've had several actions, informal requests to meet with the governor, and we have not been able to have those conversations around the growing concerns that community members who are affected by the issue have. And so that is our Free Them Now CT campaign. And like I said, we've done a few in-person actions, and some online action is still ongoing. And I'll share that in the chat, where you can tweet, email, and call the governor and your local elected officials by using this tool. Very simple. You type in your name and address, and it'll populate the message for you, and you can use it on your social media, or use it to email or call. So that is our Freedom Now CT campaign that is addressing specifically COVID-19 in prisons and jails. And then our most recent and new campaign that is very closely related to some of the collaborative's priorities is the Cut, Shut, Invest campaign. So we are prioritizing the issue of mass incarceration and systemic racism by calling on lawmakers to cut correctional populations, shut down prisons, beginning with Northern CI, and invest the savings into the communities most impacted by mass incarceration. So we put a press release at the onset of the 2021 legislative session, which I will also share. And you can actually join us for further conversation with Catal and community members and other organizations at our next action on the 18th of February from 6:30 to 8, and I'll drop all that information in the chat, because I know that everybody's kind of putting information in there, and I'm sure that with some follow-up I'll be able to share links to. I'll also add my contact information, so if anybody wants more information on how they can get involved, volunteering, becoming members, I would love to have a deeper conversation. And the more people, the merrier. This is a nice platform, virtual platform to be able to speak about this on. And yeah.
Alicia, thank you so much. And, for the audience, I just want to say the Catal calls that I join are so informative, provide so much information. They've been incredible. And Lorenzo is always fun to, he's always entertaining. And we truly appreciate all the advocacy work that Catal has provided around COVID and our prison population. So we thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Last but not least is our good friend Gus Marks Hamilton from the ACLU.
Good evening.
How are you, Gus?
I'm doing well. Glad to still be here. I think we got, 110 people hanging in with us. So
yeah, they waited for you.
I don't know about that, but I'm glad I didn't have to go after Daryl. So happy to be here.
So a lot of concerns we hear again and again when it comes to erasing or sealing criminal records is that such information is necessary for employers or housing providers to make informed decisions. Several pieces of legislation that we are supporting, and as is the ACLU in this session, take aim at this sort of discrimination directly. How do you respond to lawmakers when they raise this concern?
Thanks for the question. And again, I want to echo all the other panelists and express our appreciation and gratitude for you, Beth, and the Reentry Collaborative, and Beth for developing the 2021 Reentry priorities, putting together this forum, and for the upcoming forums too, because I'm looking forward to them as well. My name is Gus Marks Hamilton. I'm the interim campaign manager for the ACLU of Connecticut Smart Justice Campaign. Our mission is to end mass incarceration and to eliminate the racial disparities that exist and continue to exist in the state's criminal legal system. I spent nearly 8 years incarcerated in Connecticut's prisons and jails, and the smart justice leaders that I now have the privilege of knowing and working with are also formerly incarcerated people, people who are now out of the DOC and living and working incredibly hard to support themselves and their families. But to be real, struggle to find stable housing and sustainable employment. So among our legislative priorities this year is the Clean Slate Bill, and also a bill that would protect people living with a criminal record from discrimination when they are trying to find employment. We believe that every person deserves a fair shot at getting their life on track. Right now in Connecticut, people who are living with a criminal record face hundreds of legal barriers, like Tahiba talked about, to successfully resuming their lives, particularly when it comes to finding a place to live and a job. But a person's arrest or conviction record does not tell you whether they will be a good employee or a good tenant. So giving formerly incarcerated people the chance to have a clean slate will help them to find jobs, support themselves, become contributing members of society, and make it less likely that they will reoffend. And the Clean Slate Bill would automatically erase the records for many people who have completed their sentence and had no further interaction with the criminal legal system for some period of time. Connecticut will be stronger, safer, more fair when every person who is reentering society after completing their sentence has a fair chance at moving forward in their lives without the shadow of a criminal record hanging over them for the rest of their lives. And I'd like to add, in our ideal scenario, a clean slate bill would include...
What up, man?
And for us, a clean slate bill includes everyone. And people would get a clean slate the moment they have finished their sentence, not after years of having to wait. Regardless, research has shown that after 7 years or so, a person is no more likely to commit a crime than anyone else. So I'll try to keep it brief because I know we're running up against the hour. But thank you for inviting us this evening. And I'm so excited to be working with all of you for a stronger Connecticut.
So Gus, before we sign off, can you speak to the ACLU's current legislative agenda?
Yep, I mentioned clean slate earlier. Also, a bill that was recently raised in the Labor Committee, which is anti-discrimination protections for people that are living with a criminal record when it comes to finding employment. And then we have a third legislative priority that looks at the role that prosecutors and state's attorneys play in the criminal legal system. That is tied to a transparency bill around the role of prosecutors that was passed in 2019. And the bill that we're supporting this year is a follow-up, which really digs into the evaluations that prosecutors have for their terms. I could get into a lot more about that, but I know we're short on time.
No, I appreciate that information. So I just wanted to, before we're actually at the 7 o'clock mark here, and I just wanted to give a shout out for the forums that remain. For the next few weeks, we have an employment forum on February 16th, same time at 6 o'clock, a housing forum on February 25th at 6 o'clock, and a voting rights forum on March 2nd. And we're also in the process of putting together an Advocacy 101 event that we hope that many of you will attend. And Molly has put a lot of that information into the chat. And I think with that, we will end on time. And thank you for joining us tonight. I'm not sure exactly how many people are out there, but I truly appreciate you spending the time with us tonight. And
somebody has their hand raised.
Oh, okay. Is it Gus?
There's a question on asking Gus, can he speak to SB 355 regarding an act concerning the landlord's ability to review criminal records relating to a prospective tenant?
He cut you off.
Yeah, hi, Beth.
Yes.
This is Amir. I'm at Domus with Roland Whitney. We just want to express our great appreciation for being a part of this occasion. And although I'm new on the scene, there are several individuals there who know me, who I know them. I cut my teeth a little bit in the summer of 2018 doing Street Safe Bridgeport with Anthony. But we do hard work here with the guys. We have a room full of guys now. We brought them here so that they would be able to understand, develop an understanding of what's going on and be able to appreciate as well the work that you're doing. I say hi to Tahiba. Thank you for your help too this summer. But I see people here outside the box. We have to stay outside of the box. I abandoned the box over 30 years ago, and I continue to stay outside of the box to get things done. Put me in the chain. Robert, how are you? Mr. Herbert? I'm
well. I'm well.
Daryl's my good brother, my younger brother. We're from the same organization as kids, same area, so it's a little bit of what we're all about.
Yeah, let's go. FSC forever, baby. Let's get it.
Hey, I think somebody had a question for Gus regarding a Senate bill.
Gus.
Yeah, I apologize. I'm not familiar with that bill. I haven't read the language on it. I don't know if the language is available yet, but I'll throw I put my email in the chat earlier, but you know, please feel free to reach out to me. Maybe we can talk about it outside of the meeting.
And just as the timekeeper, we feel strongly that everyone gets out on time. So if you have any questions in the chat, we'll be sure to follow up with you. We have all of your emails, but we want to make sure that you come to our future forums. So we're not going to keep you into dinner time. But thank you all so much, and especially thank you to Beth and all of our panelists and the mayors who joined us.
Okay, thank you. I know, but Samaris wrote a question earlier that I think should be addressed. And if we don't have, I mean, I'm not gonna.
No, go for it, Tahiba.
All right, great, awesome, thank you. All right, so the question that she asked was basically, when the people that's being released, are they gonna be made aware of their rights, moving forward, of the barriers? And I believe she also asked about how would they know, something along those lines. I think Molly told her we'll ask those questions, answer those a little later. So my thing is this: I hope that the reentry centers that are being erected throughout the state of Connecticut are going to have those resources to let the people know where they can go and what they can do, and keep it updated. Okay, she also said who's going to monitor it. That's what it was. My thing is, I'm not sure. We do need accountability as to say if everything is being up to date, because when I remember that there was a time that we went to a resource guide and it was dated, it was outdated, and half of those organizations were no longer in existence due to funding or whatever reason. So Samaris, I don't know if that answered your question, but I think that's still for someone like Earl or the mayors or someone can really answer that, to really keep that on the forefront, because we need to know.
Thank you, Tahiba.
If I may clarify the question, that's part one of that question. Part two of that question is, with those who are re-entering, how do we make sure that that those folks who are re-entering, that they are not being faced with these discriminatory acts? Who's going to be the big brother watching the people that's renting or to folks, who's giving people jobs? That's such a broad spectrum of folks to monitor. How do we monitor a whole society? How do we do that effectively? We aren't doing it now. So how do we now do these reentry? How are these reentry centers charged with monitoring those who will employ, those who will house, those who will help, and make sure that these folks coming out are getting what they need? It's one thing to say it's available, but it's another thing for folks to go to something and the resources are, one, outdated, or two, they say they're there and they go there and they're not there anymore, or they go there, they're supposed to get something and they get mistreated again. Who's going to hold these folks accountable?
Right. Well, I think that's something that we all, okay, I'm Tahiba again. I think that's something that we need to come up with. We need to come up with a monitoring system, because just like we have an accountability for the prosecutorial data that was not being held accountable for at one point, ACLU Smart Justice and ACLU came up with a great accountability mechanism that we can probably, take from and create for these reentry centers, or build our own using some sort of mechanism. But I think, and I appreciate that, because we need that. We need to be held accountable. Every last one of us need to be held accountable on the works that we say we do. The numbers, I used to go into organizations and write my name down and get and nothing ever happens, but they have my name for their numbers to get billed and to get funding from, right? So, but yet and still, I'm still homeless, yet and still, I'm still unemployed, yet and still, I'm still not in school. So that's something we need to work on. And I think that we need to come together and figure that out as the Great Eight and our allies, and just figure this out. Yeah.
That's why I asked that question. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, ladies. Hey, Daryl, are you still with us? Can you close us out?
Yo, you already know what it is, man. I'm in the building. Of course, man. We got nothing but advocate superheroes. Thank you so much for everybody coming. Yo, stick. This is a family. This is a family affair. It's like a family reunion. Thank you, Molly, Beth, everybody that put this thing together, man. Building Bridges is coming. This is the first event. We got mad events coming. Y'all know what it is. We got to stick together. But everybody would live the experience. If you've been behind those walls, you know how important this is. You know how important this is. We are not doing this for ourselves. We're doing it for those brothers and sisters that are sleeping in cells right now. Let's go. Let's get it.
You rock. Have a great night, everybody.
Thank you.